of relevance and helping people to feel seen and heard, because I think that's very lacking. And, I'm in the enormously privileged position that you have given me of being able to do that. And I want to use that in a really positive way.
How does this overlap with or sit alongside what people call intuition? Because you talk about that as well in the book.
Yeah. I know there's so much, there's still so much else I want to say.
Just keep going.
So intuition is what it is. It's accessing inner wisdom, right? But I've included it as a really important part of the book because I believe that it's a way to receive and interpret your signs. But I just want to go back to something I said earlier, which is about how trauma can be stored in your body. And, to some extent, it can't be retrieved through talking therapy because there aren't words for it, because it's actually embedded into the tissues of your body. There's a really exciting new hypothesis for how that might work called the serotonin hypothesis. So previously, I think it would make sense that if, for example, when Robin was in hospital, I would sit in a very hunched over position and my fists would be clenched because I felt like I was fighting for his life all the time. And if I relaxed for a millisecond, he could die. So it makes sense to me that those postural issues would show up for me later in terms of aches and pains and, perhaps not perhaps, as my Pilates and yoga teachers keep telling me, issues with, certain parts of my spine and stuff. But the serotonin hypothesis is very exciting as a neuroscientist because a lot of people have heard of Bessel van der Kolk's work and the book, The Body Keeps the Score. And it makes sense kind of intuitively that the body does keep the score. And like I've said, there's an amount of trauma that you can't articulate verbally. So we understand that there are imprints of that in the body. Mm-hmm. But we've never really understood how that works. And I've talked before, I think with you, about intuition through a process called Hebbian learning, which is neurons that fire together, wire together, gets pushed deeper and deeper into neurons from the outer cortex, the limbic system, the brainstem, into gut neurons. And that's why intuition is called gut instinct. And we understand that through stress postures, you could have bracing patterns in your muscles for the trauma that you've experienced. Fascia is the connective tissue that holds your entire body together, all your organs, all your muscles. And until fairly recently, fascia was thought of as a vestigial organ. It was cut away in surgery without thinking of that it would have any effect on the rest of your body. Now it's understood more to actually be an organ of its own and an important one. And the serotonin hypothesis goes some way to explain how the level of constriction of capillaries and the amount of nutrients that's released to skin, fascia, and muscle is a mechanism for how trauma is held in the body.
And with that in mind, what do we do to get rid of that trauma held in the body?
Physical activities. So dancing, singing, drumming, humming, chanting, massage, yoga, craniosacral therapy. And you'll notice the ones I started with are, very related to ancient wisdom. So our ancestors knew this. For example, in ancient Greek burials, they would wail and beat their chests. So they were getting rid of grief by screaming, but also by beating their muscles and letting trauma exit their body.